Education isn't confined to classrooms, certificates, or framed degrees hanging on a wall. It is a way of living, breathing, and experiencing life with open eyes and an open heart. True education teaches you how to treat people, how to respond to challenges, and how to rise after you've fallen. It is not about how much you know, but about how much you grow through the lessons that life puts in front of you. A degree might open doors, but it does not guarantee wisdom. Wisdom is built in the way you listen when others speak, in the way you choose kindness when anger would be easier, and in the way you hold on to hope when despair tries to overpower you. Education is in the humility to accept mistakes and the courage to correct them. It is in the discipline to keep moving forward, even when life feels like it's pulling you backward. Every person you meet becomes a teacher. Every struggle you endure becomes a lesson. Every failure becomes a classroom where you discover resilience, patience, and strength. The moment you decide to learn from everything around you, that is the moment you step into a life of true education. Knowledge that stays in books is powerless until it is lived. Real education is reflected in your actions, in your compassion, in your ability to inspire, and in your determination to create positive change. It is not about collecting information, it is about transforming information into wisdom and wisdom into impact. With curiosity. Learn with humility, share with generosity. Education is not the destination. It is the journey that shapes you into someone who not only understands the world but makes it better. That is the kind of education that no one can take away from you, because it is not written on paper, it is written in the way you live your life. Education goes beyond the boundaries of degrees and certificates. It cannot be confined to the walls of an institution or the ink on a piece of paper. While degrees can open doors and grant opportunities, they do not necessarily define the depth of one's knowledge or the value of one's character. The true essence of education lies in the way it shapes the mind, molds the heart, and influences the spirit to rise above challenges and embrace growth. A person with multiple degrees may still lack wisdom if they have not learned to connect knowledge with life, empathy with action, and understanding with compassion. Education is not the certificate you hold in your hand. It is the way you carry yourself in the world from the very beginning of life. Before we even step into a school, we start learning. A child learns to walk not because of a lesson in a book, but because of persistence, trial, and failure. That simple journey of standing, falling, and rising again is the earliest proof that education is a process of living. Teaches resilience, courage, and patience without ever handing out a diploma. Similarly, life continues to educate us in ways far deeper than any classroom could. Every heartbreak teaches us about strength. Every disappointment shapes our perseverance. Every interaction with another person reveals something about ourselves and the human condition. Degrees, while valuable, are only a tool. They show a measure of formal learning, but they do not represent the full scope of human understanding. A degree might get someone a job, but it cannot guarantee wisdom in leadership. It can secure a position in society, but it cannot secure respect from people unless one's actions reflect integrity and kindness. History has shown us countless examples of individuals who changed the world without the backing of prestigious academic honors. Their true education came from observation, persistence, and a refusal to stop learning from life itself. Education is not about reaching an academic milestone. It is about never allowing your growth to stop. Consider how often people use education in ways that degrees cannot define. A mother raising her children, teaching them values of honesty and resilience, may never hold a formal certificate in child psychology, but she embodies one of the greatest forms of education. A farmer working tirelessly with the soil may not have studied environmental science, yet his experience has taught him the rhythms of the earth, the patience of seasons, and the wisdom of balance. These examples reveal a truth. Education is not about the prestige of titles, but about the practical wisdom that helps us live meaningfully. Real education teaches us how to deal with others. It teaches us that knowledge without kindness can be dangerous, and intelligence without empathy can be destructive. A degree in communication may give someone the theory of connection, but only life can teach them how to listen with sincerity, how to speak with compassion, and how to understand silence. A person who learns these lessons has embraced a form of education no university can fully provide. When education is seen only as a degree, it becomes limited, mechanical, and often disconnected from the soul. But when education is seen as a lifestyle, it becomes limitless. It becomes a daily practice of curiosity, of asking questions not just to pass exams, but to understand life more deeply. It becomes the choice to learn from failures instead of being defeated by them. It becomes the strength to acknowledge what you don't know and the humility to keep learning. Those who treat education as a lifestyle never stop growing. They learn from books, but they also learn from people, experiences, even silence. They do not measure themselves by the number of certificates they collect, but by the number of lives they touch and the wisdom they carry. Such individuals prove that education is not a destination, it is an endless journey. A degree may expire in value as industries change, but the education of the heart and mind lasts forever. Wisdom is not found in textbooks, certificates, or even in the polished speeches of scholars. It is discovered in the choices we make, the values we uphold, and the lives we live. A person may spend years in universities collecting degrees and yet struggle to apply the simplest principles of humanity. Another person, with little or no formal education, may carry a wisdom so profound that it guides not only their own life but also inspires others. This contrast shows us that wisdom is not memorized, it is lived. It is not a decoration for the mind, but a reflection of the heart and soul in action. When you observe life closely, you begin to see that wisdom is built through experience. It grows when knowledge is tested in the real world, when theories meet reality, and when failure teaches lessons that no classroom can offer. For instance, a person might study leadership in a business school, memorizing strategies and techniques, but only when they are placed in situations of pressure, conflict, and decision-making do they truly learn what it means to lead. It is not the memorized formula that makes them wise. It is the ability to adapt, to remain calm under fire, and to choose integrity over convenience. That is wisdom in action. True wisdom cannot be confined to intellectual understanding. It requires humility. A wise person knows that they don't know everything, and this humility keeps them curious and open to learning. In contrast, someone who believes their degree has made them superior often closes the door to further growth. Life has a way of humbling such people because no matter how much we study, the real world always throws unexpected challenges that demand flexibility, empathy, and courage. Wisdom, therefore, is not about what you have studied, but about how you embrace the unknown with strength and grace. Kindness is one of the purest forms of wisdom. Think about it. Knowledge may give someone power, but without kindness, that power can harm more than it heals. A truly educated heart understands that knowledge must serve humanity, not just personal ambition. For example, a doctor with countless qualifications may perform surgeries flawlessly, but if they lack compassion for their patients, their education feels incomplete. On the other hand, a caregiver with little formal training may show love and empathy that bring comfort and healing no medicine alone could provide. Wisdom lies not in the skill alone, but in the spirit with which it is carried out. Resilience is another mark of wisdom. Life tests every one of us, often in ways we never expect. A wise person does not crumble at the first sign of difficulty. They may stumble, but they learn how to rise again with more strength than before. Wisdom is not in avoiding pain, but in learning from it. People with wisdom don't see failure as the end, they see it as part of the process. This mindset transforms every setback into a stepping stone toward growth. Degrees can teach theories about perseverance, but only lived experiences can teach the taste of endurance. Wisdom is also about balance. It is about knowing when to speak and when to remain silent, when to push forward and when to let go, when to fight and when to forgive. These are not lessons printed in a textbook. They are cultivated through reflection, through mistakes, and through the courage to make choices with awareness. A degree can give someone the technical know-how of a situation, but only wisdom can guide them to act with fairness, compassion, and dignity. When we truly understand that wisdom is lived, not memorized, we begin to value character over credentials. We begin to see that a person's worth is not in the letters attached to their name, but in the way they treat others, the way they endure hardship, and the way they contribute to the world. Real wisdom makes a person humble, compassionate, and resilient. It makes them someone others look up to, not because of the certificates they hold, but because of the example they set. Life itself is the greatest classroom, and every moment we live is part of its endless curriculum. Unlike traditional schools, life does not give us a timetable of lessons or a clear syllabus to prepare for. It throws challenges unexpectedly, teaches through trials, and rewards us with growth when we are willing to learn. Every encounter, every failure, every success, and every hardship becomes a lesson waiting to be understood. The beauty of this classroom is that it never closes, and it is available to anyone willing to pay attention. From the moment we are born, life begins teaching us. A baby learns trust not from textbooks, but from the arms that hold them. A child learns perseverance not from lectures, but from falling while trying to walk and choosing to stand again. In adolescence, friendships, disappointments, and mistakes teach us about loyalty, forgiveness, and responsibility. As adults, the responsibilities of work, family, and society test our patience, resilience, and character. Every stage of life is like a new grade in this grand classroom, where experiences serve as teachers and wisdom is the final exam. Failures, especially, are some of the greatest teachers life provides. A failed project, a broken relationship, or a lost opportunity often leaves us wounded. But when the pain subsides, we begin to see the lessons hidden in the struggle. We learn what went wrong, what could be improved, and how to move forward with greater strength. A formal education might penalize us for failing a test, but in the classroom of life, failure is not the end, it is a beginning. It is the moment we are given the chance to learn resilience and patience. The people we meet in life are also some of our most powerful teachers. Every person carries their own story, their own wisdom, and their own lessons. Some inspire us by showing us kindness, while others test us by challenging our patience. Some encourage us to grow, while others reveal to us what we must never become. Even those who hurt us have something to teach, because they help us discover strength, forgiveness, and boundaries. If we are willing to see beyond appearances, every person becomes a page in the book of our education. Struggles, too, shape our understanding in ways no classroom could ever do. Losing a job might teach us about resourcefulness. Facing illness might teach us about gratitude for health. Experiencing rejection might show us the importance of self-belief. Life, through its highs and lows, teaches us lessons of survival, empathy, and growth that no degree could ever provide. These lessons become part of who we are, building character and resilience. Unlike schools where exams are predictable, life tests us without warning. Sometimes the test comes in the form of a sudden loss, sometimes in the form of temptation, and sometimes in the form of opportunities disguised as risks. These tests are not meant to punish us. They are meant to reveal the strength, courage, and wisdom hidden within us. When we pass these tests, we grow. When we fail, we are given another chance to learn and try again. The greatest advantage of life as a classroom is that it makes education personal. We are not learning abstract concepts disconnected from reality. We are learning lessons that directly affect our happiness, our relationships, and our purpose. When you lose someone you love, you learn the value of presence and time. When you face betrayal, you learn the importance of trust and caution. When you succeed after years of struggle, you learn the meaning of perseverance. These lessons are not written in books. They are engraved in our hearts and souls. The more we embrace life as a classroom, the richer our education becomes. We begin to see failures not as setbacks but as teachers. We view struggles as opportunities for growth rather than punishments. We treat every person we meet as someone who has something valuable to offer, even if it is through pain. When we develop this mindset, education stops being a phase of our lives and becomes a lifelong journey. Life never stops teaching. The question is whether we are willing to remain students. Those who keep their hearts and minds open to learning grow wiser with every season. They understand that no matter how many degrees they hold, the greatest education they will ever receive comes not from schools, but from the lessons of living itself. Knowledge is powerful, but it remains powerless until it is transformed into impact. Reading books, earning degrees, or memorizing theories can make someone knowledgeable, but true education demands more than storage of information. It asks, how will you use what you know? Will your knowledge change your life? Will it change the lives of others? Knowledge that stays locked inside the mind serves no one. It becomes meaningful only when it is lived, shared, and applied in ways that create positive change. Think of how many people possess qualifications yet never step beyond the limits of their certificates. They may know the formulas of mathematics, the rules of law, or the principles of leadership. But if they fail to use these tools for the betterment of themselves and others, then their education remains incomplete. On the other hand, someone with modest knowledge who applies it sincerely can achieve more impact than someone who carries endless information but never acts. It is not about how much you know, but about what you do with what you know. When knowledge turns into wisdom, and wisdom turns into impact, it transforms lives. A teacher who simply memorizes content from a textbook may fulfill their duty, but a teacher who goes beyond the syllabus, who inspires students to think critically, who teaches them values, who encourages them to believe in themselves, creates a ripple effect that extends far beyond the classroom. That is education at its best, not the delivery of facts, but the planting of seeds that grow into positive action. Compassion is one of the greatest ways knowledge is transformed into impact. A doctor, for example, may know the science of medicine, but without compassion, their knowledge remains mechanical. A compassionate doctor not only heals with medicine, but also with kindness, empathy, and presence. Their impact is deeper because they use their knowledge to touch lives, not just treat bodies. In the same way, an engineer may know how to design buildings, but when they design homes that protect people from natural disasters, their knowledge becomes life-saving. Knowledge becomes powerful when it meets purpose. Every struggle we face is also an opportunity to turn knowledge into action. We may learn resilience from books or motivational speeches, but until we apply it in moments of difficulty, it remains theoretical. Real education shows itself in how we respond when life tests us. Do we give up, or do we stand strong? Do we complain, or do we find solutions? This application of knowledge is what creates growth. Impact happens not when you know what perseverance means, but when you live it. History is full of examples where people with limited formal education created extraordinary impact because they applied what they knew with courage. Inventors, leaders, and humanitarians often came from humble beginnings, yet their willingness to act made them great. Their education was not confined to classrooms. It was their determination to turn lessons into change that left a legacy. They prove that impact does not require endless qualifications. It requires vision, courage, and the heart to serve. The danger of knowledge without impact is stagnation. Knowledge becomes like stagnant water. It exists, but it does not flow, nourish, or give life. To create impact, knowledge must flow outward. It must inspire, build, heal, or uplift. A person who learns but never applies lives half an education. But a person who applies even a little knowledge with sincerity can light a path for others. This transformation from knowledge to impact also demands humility. It requires us to understand that education is not about personal pride, but about collective progress. True education is never selfish. It asks, how can I use what I have learned to make life better for others? When knowledge is applied with this mindset, it becomes a force that uplifts families, communities, and even generations. The world does not remember people for the degrees they held. It remembers them for the impact they created. No one asks how many exams a great leader passed, but history remembers the way they inspired, served, and sacrificed. No one recalls the grades of innovators, but we all benefit from their inventions. The mark of true education is never the paper it produces, but the lives it touches. When we commit to transforming knowledge into impact, we elevate education from something personal to something universal. We stop measuring it by certificates and start measuring it by the difference it makes. Real education is not what you keep in your head, It is what you give through your hands, your heart, and your actions. Education is not a destination you arrive at once. A degree is handed to you. It is a lifestyle, a way of being that continues for as long as you are alive. To see education as an endpoint is to limit its power, but to embrace it as a daily practice is to live in constant growth. A degree may expire in relevance as the world changes, but a life rooted in learning, humility, and curiosity will always remain fresh, resilient, and purposeful. Living education as a lifestyle means waking up each day with a student's heart. It means being curious about the world around you, asking questions not for the sake of exams, but for the sake of understanding. It means seeing every experience, whether joyful or painful, as an opportunity to learn something new. A setback is no longer a punishment, but a lesson. A success is not the final achievement, but a stepping stone to the next stage of growth. When education becomes a lifestyle, life itself becomes richer and more meaningful. Humility is a cornerstone of this kind of education. People who treat learning as a lifelong journey know they will never know it all, and that is what keeps them open. They listen more, observe more, and adapt more. This humility makes them wiser than those who stop learning after achieving formal qualifications. They understand that every person they meet, whether young or old, rich or poor, educated or uneducated, has something to teach. Wisdom flows to those who are willing to admit they don't have all the answers. Curiosity also fuels education as a lifestyle. A curious mind does not accept things at face value. It asks why, it searches for meaning, and it explores beyond comfort zones. Such curiosity leads to innovation, creativity, and new discoveries. It keeps life exciting and dynamic. While degrees may prepare someone for a career, curiosity prepares them for life itself, because it keeps them growing regardless of age or circumstance. To live education as a lifestyle also means applying what you learn daily. It is not about collecting knowledge and storing it away, but about using it to improve your relationships, your work, and your service to others. If you learn patience, you practice it in traffic. If you learn kindness, you show it to strangers. If you learn resilience, you apply it when life knocks you down. Education, when lived as a lifestyle, is not displayed on paper, but in the choices you make every single day. Another element of this lifestyle is contribution. True education does not stop with personal growth, it extends outward. It asks you to share what you know, to teach others, to mentor, to uplift, and to serve. Knowledge becomes meaningful only when it leaves your mind and enters the lives of others. A life of education is therefore a life of giving, where what you learn becomes a tool for building not just yourself, but the world around you. Resilience plays an equally important role. Those who live education as a lifestyle know that change is inevitable and that challenges are constant. Instead of resisting them, they adapt, learn, and grow. They understand that every season of life, whether easy or hard, has something valuable to teach. This resilience keeps them moving forward, turning obstacles into stepping stones. They do not stop learning because of difficulty. In fact, difficulty becomes their greatest teacher. Living education as a lifestyle also means valuing growth over perfection. It means you don't measure yourself against others, but against your own progress. Yesterday's mistakes become today's lessons, and today's lessons become tomorrow's wisdom. This mindset frees you from the trap of comparison and keeps you focused on becoming the best version of yourself, one step at a time. Ultimately, education as a lifestyle shapes not just what you know, but who you are. It builds character, strengthens values, and inspires purpose. People will not remember you for the degrees you earned, but for the way you lived, with curiosity, humility, kindness, and resilience. A degree may open doors, but a life of continuous learning builds a legacy. When you choose to make education your lifestyle, you commit to a journey that never ends. You become a student of life, always open, always growing, always sharing. And in that commitment lies the truest form of education. Not something written on a certificate, but something written in the way you live every single day.